This was really... 10 minutes ago, I cried. I cried because today is an emotional day. It marks the end of a 1,000-day journey from around the world.
YouTube, as we all know, is a relentless, cutthroat arena, a constant deluge of fresh content washing over audiences, demanding unwavering attention. Most people don't bat an eye when a creator's star begins to fade, when their uploads dwindle, or their viewership slowly erodes. But Nas Daily, that, my friends, is a profoundly different story. This guy wasn't just a creator. He was once a true titan, a king of the platform, his vibrant, rapid-fire videos dominating every corner of social media, inspiring millions with his global adventures and optimistic worldview. Yet, in what seems like an almost unbelievable reversal of fortune, he's now grappling with a cascade of controversy. His recent videos often buried under an overwhelming wave of dislikes, his once loyal fan base expressing profound disappointment. What truly happened to Nas Daily, the charismatic YouTuber who captivated the world with his succinct, high-energy glimpses into cultures and daily life across the globe, only to have the very community that once adored him turn their backs with such a forceful collective rejection? I promise you, there's a ton of juicy, complex, and deeply human stuff to unpack here, touching on themes of authenticity, trust, and the treacherous tightrope walk of online fame. Let's dive in. Let's be unequivocally clear from the outset. Nas, or Nusir Yassin as he's known when the cameras are off, possesses undeniable talent. This isn't just a casual observation, it's a cold, hard truth. His knack for storytelling, his sharp editing, and his ability to encapsulate complex experiences into snappy, digestible segments revolutionized the way many approached online travel content. He was born into a Palestinian Muslim family in Israel, a background that in itself offered a rich tapestry of cultural insights. His academic journey speaks volumes about his inherent drive and intellect. At just 19, he secured a coveted scholarship to Harvard, a dream institution for countless aspiring minds, where he pursued aerospace engineering. It's an inspiring narrative built on ambition and overcoming odds, a testament to what dedication can achieve. But perhaps even more indicative of his audacious spirit was his pivotal decision to walk away from a cushy, high-paying job at Venmo's Tech Institute. This wasn't a casual career change. This was a leap of faith into the unknown, a bold move to chase an unconventional dream. Vlogging his travels around the world. In an era where stability is often prioritized, Nas Daily truly made happen what so many just fantasize about, converting wanderlust into a compelling digital career. You have to give him props for that kind of guts. However, as the adage goes, nobody's perfect, especially when placed under the unforgiving microscope of public scrutiny. At the zenith of his career, as his follower count soared into the millions and his influence became undeniable, Nas began to face a barrage of troubling accusations. These weren't minor grievances. They were fundamental challenges to his perceived integrity, allegations of dishonesty in his content, a pervasive sense of fakeness, accusations of regional bias, and even outright disrespect for local cultures. Each misstep, each controversy, chipped away at his once gleaming public image, slowly but surely tarnishing it in the eyes of his community. Eventually, the very fans who had once flocked to his channel, including many fiercely loyal followers, began to turn against him. I'll admit it, I was one of those diehard fans, scrolling through my feed, eager to catch nearly every single one of his snappy one-minute videos. His content felt fresh, authentic, and genuinely uplifting. But now, as I've dug tirelessly through his sprawling channel to compile the research for this very video, sifting through older uploads and analyzing the disheartening comments on his recent content, my feelings have undergone a complete and utter shift. That deep admiration I once held for him, it's simply gone, replaced by a profound sense of disappointment and, yes, even disdain. I'm guessing a significant number of you watching right now feel the exact same way, a collective disillusionment that likely propelled you to click on this video in the first place, seeking answers or perhaps simply validation for your own shifting perceptions. The genesis of his downfall can be traced to the moment his follower count exploded, transforming him from an adventurous vlogger into a global phenomenon. And with this exponential growth, Nas Daily's ambitions grew exponentially larger, particularly his drive to monetize his burgeoning influence. Let's be blunt, his focus began to shift dramatically towards making money, often seemingly at any cost. The purity of his original mission, which once emphasized connecting cultures and sharing human stories, began to fray. Fans, astute and discerning as they often are, started to notice a glaring chasm between what he preached in his feel-good videos and what he practiced behind the scenes. What followed was a disturbing string of scandals that piled up one after another, like dominoes falling in slow motion. Accusations of shady advertising practices, blatant disrespect for local cultures, and even deeply troubling claims of racism began to surface. To top it all off, in a move that baffled many, Nas Daily managed to inadvertently infuriate millions of Muslims worldwide, a colossal misstep that further eroded his credibility. His once shining, unblemished image started to crumble, pixel by pixel, with fans increasingly calling him out as a fake and a hypocrite. The most common recurring grievance I've seen plastered across comment sections, echoing the sentiment of countless viewers, wasn't just about financial loss, but a deeper, more insidious erosion of trust. People lost trust in crypto, in people, in each other. I am losing trust in people, too. This sentiment, a mirror of my own evolving feelings, highlights the profound impact of his actions. His perceived deception of his audience manifested glaringly in his involvement with the volatile world of cryptocurrency. You remember those heady days of crypto exchanges, right? Let me recount a specific, widely criticized episode. The time Nas Daily posted videos hyping up two of the most prominent figures in the crypto space at the time. Sam Bankman-Fried, the now infamous head of FTX, and Changpeng Zhao, the founder of Binance. While these videos have since conveniently disappeared from his channel, their original presence screamed paid promotion. This wasn't merely speculation. The style, the enthusiastic endorsement, and the timing were clear indicators. The chilling irony, of course, is that both of those highly touted individuals later faced severe fraud allegations. Changpeng Zhao was ultimately forced to step down from his position amidst a storm of controversies and legal challenges, while Sam Bankman-Fried, the face of FTX's spectacular collapse, was slapped with a staggering 25-year prison sentence and an $11 billion fine for his multi-billion-dollar scams. You've undoubtedly heard about this monumental financial debacle. Perhaps you or someone you know even got burned, losing hard-earned money in that whole ordeal. Nas Daily's influence was, at that time, immense, especially among young, impressionable audiences looking for guidance in emerging financial trends. It's highly probable that a significant number of folks fell victim to Sam Bankman-Fried's schemes, swayed, at least in part, by Nas's prominent endorsements. And then, in a move that struck many as profoundly irresponsible, Nas deleted those videos without offering so much as a sincere, contrite apology to his legion of fans who might have been impacted. Instead, he embarked on what many perceived as a self-pitying rant, positioning himself as a victim, lamenting his own loss of faith in humanity. This approach, widely seen as a blatant attempt to dodge responsibility, infuriated his audience. One fan's comment, succinct and cutting, perfectly encapsulated the widespread sentiment. You didn't lose faith in people. People are losing faith in you. But the revelations didn't stop there. During a podcast appearance, Nas allowed a bombshell to slip, confirming what many had long suspected. Sometimes people paid to be featured in his videos. This admission struck a raw nerve. YouTube's widely understood and legally mandated rules are crystal clear. Any sponsored content, any paid promotion, absolutely must be disclosed to the audience. Yet, according to numerous accounts and his own admission, Nas often didn't bother with these crucial disclosures. This isn't a minor oversight, it's a straight-up act of deception, a betrayal of the audience's trust that assumes genuine endorsement. It immediately begged a daunting question for his now skeptical fan base. Out of the 1,000 or so videos he'd posted, how many were actually covert paid gigs, undisclosed advertisements disguised as authentic content? Fans naturally began to question everything about his past work. Did he genuinely care about the quality or integrity of his content, or was he merely cashing in on lucrative advertising deals, even if those deals subtly or directly hurt his community, financially or ethically? For many, it became crystal clear. He had been systematically betraying his viewers' trust, prioritizing profit over integrity. Nas Daily's reputation took yet another significant nosedive when he set his sights on the Philippines, a country rich in culture and tradition. At first, his venture seemed promising. He and his team released a video spotlighting Apo Wangod, a revered centenarian tattoo artist, titled The World's Oldest Tattoo Artist. The video delved into fascinating details about her lifelong dedication to her craft, showcasing her creation of traditional tattoos using only homemade ink from charcoal and water and plant thorns in place of modern needles. It was a visually stunning and culturally rich piece, and initially it exploded across social media, racking up millions of views and garnering widespread praise as a captivating share-worthy piece of content. However, the story took a dark turn shortly after. Nas Daily then announced the launch of a tattooing course featuring Wangod on his Nas Academy platform. This is where things got incredibly messy. Wangod's own granddaughter, a direct relative and caretaker of her legacy, publicly called him out, making a grave claim. Her grandmother, she asserted, had never signed any contract with Nas, and there was no such thing as a Wangod Academy or any tattooing course legitimately tied to her. In response to the furious backlash, Nas quickly posted a video attempting to refute the claims, showing the 104-year-old artist placing her fingerprint on a document, ostensibly as proof that she had agreed to the so-called Wangod Academy. He also attempted to deflect criticism by highlighting that 40% of the Nas Academy team is Filipino, a fact that immediately sparked a firestorm of debate. People rightly argued that the issue wasn't about his team's nationality or his claims of inclusivity. It was about the fundamental ethics of the deal, consent, and who was genuinely benefiting from the commodification of a sacred cultural practice. The situation escalated further when the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, NCIP, a Philippine government agency specifically tasked with protecting indigenous communities and their cultural heritage, launched its own investigation. Their findings were damning. They officially declared that the traditional tattooing art of the Batbut tribe to which Wangod belongs is a shared cultural asset requiring the collective consent of the entire community, not just a single individual like Wangod alone, especially given her advanced age and vulnerability. Unfortunately for Nas, this was a massive, irreparable misstep, costing him an estimated 500,000 followers at the time. A staggering loss that reflected the deep public outrage over perceived cultural exploitation. Things then got even uglier when Louise Mabulo, a respected Filipino farmer and entrepreneur, stepped forward with her own accusations, directly accusing Nas of exploiting her culture and community. The two had previously collaborated on a project ostensibly aimed at promoting cacao farming for local farmers, a venture that ultimately fell apart. According to Louise, Nas repeatedly dismissed the farmers' efforts as not clickable content, a chilling indication of his priorities. She further alleged that he mocked their local dialect and, most offensively, called Filipinos impoverished. I mean, what did those hardworking Filipino farmers ever do to him, even if they were struggling financially? To dismiss their genuine efforts as merely not clickable or to mock their language and circumstances reveals a profoundly callous and self-serving perspective. It became blindingly clear to many that this individual was chasing viral million-view videos, not genuinely trying to uplift or promote anyone's well-being or cultural heritage, as one commentator aptly summarized, a sentiment I couldn't agree with more. Nas isn't helping these people, he's using them to build his brand. This exposed a cynical transactionalism that stood in stark contrast to his public persona. Not content with stirring up trouble over regional and cultural biases, Nas Daily then ventured into an even more sensitive minefield: religion. In a video boldly titled, "I studied Islam for a month and lost all my hair," posted in July 2024, Nas effectively picked a fight with over 2 billion Muslims worldwide. The core issue: the tradition of Muslim men voluntarily shaving their heads after performing the pilgrimage to Mecca, Hajj or Umrah, known as Halq, is a deeply sacred spiritual practice symbolizing purity, rebirth, and a fresh start. Yet Nas, in his provocative title, framed this profound religious act negatively, suggesting it resulted in a loss of hair, rather than an intentional, meaningful act of devotion. This sensationalized and misleading framing immediately incensed the global Muslim community. What happens when millions of viewers just glance at the title without watching the full video and jump to conclusions based on such a disrespectful framing of a sacred rite? Let me be clear, I've thoroughly fact-checked this, and the consensus is that Nas spread misleading information and portrayed a sacred religious practice in a negative, trivializing light. Religion, for billions, is a deeply personal, foundational aspect of their lives, and not everyone, especially someone who isn't a devout follower or possesses a profound understanding, can fully grasp its intricate nuances and profound significance. So, let's agree to leave centuries-old religious traditions alone, and certainly not twist them into something they're not for the sake of a controversial title. It became increasingly obvious that Nas Daily didn't possess a deep or nuanced understanding of many of the complex topics he chose to tackle. He consistently came off as a one-sided, superficial messenger, skimming the surface for clickbait without providing genuine substance or respect. Honestly, he desperately needs to focus on creating quality, genuinely informative content instead of chasing trendy, controversial topics purely to hook viewers and chase fleeting virality. Here's another prime example of his struggle with authenticity and neutrality. When the Israel-Palestine conflict flared up dramatically, Nas, being directly connected to both regions by birth and upbringing, understandably jumped right into the conversation. In his initial videos, he claimed to adopt a neutral stance, earnestly preaching peace over war, urging dialogue and understanding. Honestly, it felt, to many, like a carefully calibrated attempt to avoid upsetting anyone, to maintain a broad appeal without taking a genuine moral position. But then, in a dramatic contradiction that shattered any pretense of neutrality, he posted on X, formerly Twitter, a stark, unequivocal statement: Israel comes first, and Palestine is a distant second. This single statement completely undermined his earlier peaceful rhetoric, exposing a deeply partisan stance that directly contradicted his public declarations of neutrality. To make matters even worse, a short, incriminating clip later surfaced, filmed by a passerby, allegedly showing Nas berating Israel in a private moment, further exposing a jarring inconsistency between his public and private positions. And just like that, through this series of perceived contradictions and shifting allegiances, he alienated pretty much his entire audience in one fell swoop, leaving supporters on both sides feeling betrayed by his perceived lack of genuine commitment to either peace or a consistent stance. Look, this isn't just about picking a side. If Nas Daily had openly backed Israel or Palestine from the beginning, clearly stating his convictions, he would undoubtedly still have people rallying behind him, passionately defending his stance and respecting his honesty, even if they disagreed. The real issue here, the recurring pattern that defines his perceived downfall, is Nas himself. He's perceived as a hypocrite, consistently undermining his own stated values through his actions and conflicting statements. Honestly, it doesn't seem like he cares much about the conflict itself or the profound human suffering it entails. Many believe he's just jumping on a trending, emotionally charged topic purely to stay relevant and maximize views, regardless of the ethical cost. Dishonest advertising practices, accusations of racial insensitivity, and blatant fakeness. These are the cumulative burdens that have systematically turned Nas Daily's once overwhelmingly positive, inspirational image into something ugly, something viewed with deep suspicion in the eyes of his community. Those upbeat, feel-good, seemingly spontaneous videos of his, once celebrated for their novelty and positive message, are now seen through a completely different, cynical lens. Fans are no longer just enjoying the content. They're meticulously questioning who's really benefiting from these stories, what the hidden agenda might be, and whether the perspectives he shares are genuinely his deeply held beliefs, or just carefully polished narratives designed to win over a fleeting audience. The disillusionment runs deep. It gets worse. Former employees of Nas have courageously spoken out, revealing a starkly different reality of working for him, compared to the inspiring utopian vision his videos portray. They described a toxic, high-pressure work environment where the singular, overwhelming focus was solely on churning out viral, view-grabbing content, rather than making any meaningful or genuine impact on the world or the lives of the people featured. Another ex-employee echoed this sentiment, stating unequivocally that the entire operation was ruthlessly centered around what would blow up on social media, prioritizing metrics over authentic storytelling or ethical engagement. Clearly, this is a far cry from the sincere, passionate Nas Daily we saw in the early days of his meteoric rise. A stark reminder that the carefully constructed facade of an inspirational figure often crumbles under scrutiny, revealing a more cynical, commercially driven core. Now, Nas Daily's once mighty empire is visibly crumbling. Videos continue to go up, a testament to his continued effort, but his viewership has plummeted to alarming levels. A YouTube channel boasting a colossal 14 million subscribers is now regularly pulling in a mere 100,000 views per video. You don't need to be a YouTube analytics expert to grasp the severity of that decline. It's not just a drop, it's a precipitous fall, signaling a profound disengagement from his once massive audience. Watching his recent uploads, a nagging question persistently surfaces. Is what Nas is saying even truly authentic anymore? Or is he being paid covertly to push these specific narratives, these carefully curated perspectives? Every year, countless content creators, once bright stars, gradually fade into obscurity, and it barely raises an eyebrow in the vast churning ocean of online content. But Nas Daily's downfall is strikingly different. It's not a quiet disappearance. It's a slow, public, and painful unraveling, played out in the harsh light of a million scrutinizing eyes. Despite his continued efforts to mask the truth with manipulative content, to resurrect his brand through new ventures, the underlying reality of who he truly is and what he represents can't remain hidden forever from an increasingly discerning audience. This entire saga serves as a profound wake-up call for YouTubers, influencers, and content creators everywhere. Be mindful, deeply mindful, about what you put out there. Your audience is smart, often far smarter and more perceptive than you give them credit for. In the long run, integrity always wins. So, keep it real with everything you share. What are your thoughts on Nas Daily's journey and these deeply entrenched controversies? Did you once admire him and have your feelings shifted? Share your perspective, your insights, and your experiences in the comments below. We're eager to hear your honest take on this complex story. If you found this deep dive insightful, if it sparked your curiosity or simply offered a moment of compelling entertainment, please hit that like button. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing to Starwatch 247 for more honest breakdowns of internet phenomena, the untold stories behind popular figures, and deep dives into the most explosive narratives in the world of online culture. Your support helps us keep exposing the truth and bringing you content that truly matters. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, ready to unravel another compelling story.